The elevator doors slid open to the hospital's bright hallway, and the world felt too loud for Andrew. Machines beeped, nurses rushed past, a doctor's voice still rang in his head like a slow bell. 2 days. I'm sorry. Beside him, Madame Teresa leaned on his arm, coughing so hard her whole body shook. Each cough sounded like it was pulling something out of her chest and breaking it on the way out. Outside, the late afternoon sky hung grey over Lagos. The hospital steps were wet from a short rain. Drivers honked at the gate. Andrew held his mother carefully, whispering, "Easy, Mama. Breathe." But the cough swallowed his words. She gasped and clutched his sleeve, eyes watering, lips trembling. For one hot second, he thought she would collapse right there on the steps. A voice came from the side. "Please, can I help?" Andrew turned. A tall, dark-skinned man in a torn ash coat stood near the railing. His hair was overgrown, his beard tangled, and an old bag hung from his shoulder. He looked tired, but his eyes were steady and gentle. "Can I carry her to your car?" the man asked again. Andrew's mind flashed. Wealthy hospitals, private planes, the best doctors. None of that had stopped this cough. Now a stranger wanted to help. But his mother's knees buckled, and Andrew could feel her slipping. "Yes, please," he said, voice tight with fear. The man stepped forward, lifting Madame Teresa like she was the most precious thing in the world. He didn't rush. He matched her breathing. He spoke softly to her. "Mama, I've got you." And somehow the cough slowed just enough for them to move. At the car, he laid her gently on the back seat. Then he reached into his old bag and pulled out a small bundle wrapped in brown paper. Inside were dried leaves and a tiny bottle filled with dark oil. A calm, careful look crossed his face. "This is a natural remedy," he said. "If you allow it, boil these leaves when you reach home. 5 teaspoons of the liquid twice a day. Put 1 drop of this oil in warm water for steam. If it is what I believe, the cough should stop within 48 hours. Andrew blinked. 48 hours. The doctor had said 2 days, 2 final days. The words hit him like lightning. "Who are you?" he asked, surprise and doubt fighting in his voice. The man slung his bag back over his shoulder. "My name is Johnson," he said. "You can find me over there down the street." He pointed toward an uncompleted building past the hospital gate. "It's where I live." He took a small step back. "You don't have to believe me, but if you do, keep the timing. Be steady with it." "Wait," Andrew said. "How much do I—" But Johnson was already turning away, giving a little nod. "I pray she gets well." And he started down the road, coat flapping, feet splashing through small puddles. Andrew stood frozen. He had spent millions. He had crossed oceans. He had heard doctors use big words and soft voices that always ended with, "We'll try." And here was a man with an old bag and cotton-wrapped leaves saying, 48 hours. A soft tap on the window. "My son," Madame Teresa whispered, voice thin and shaky, "let's go home." He looked at the bundle in his hand. He looked at his mother. Then he put the herbs on the front seat, started the car, and drove. The drive to their home on the island felt longer than any flight Andrew had ever taken. Rain tapped the windshield in tiny dots. He remembered being a small boy, sitting on a wooden stool, watching his mother turn Gary in a pan so he could eat. He remembered her singing while washing his school uniform at night because she could not pay for a second set. He remembered her hands, strong, quick, always warm. "Breathe with me, Mama," he said, counting her breaths, keeping them steady. He kept one eye on the road and one eye on the back seat. Every cough felt like a ticking clock. At the gate, the guards rushed out to help. "Ogre," they called, opening the door wide. Andrew lifted his mother again, the way Johnson had, slow and careful. Inside the house, marble floors shone under soft lights. Everything smelled like lemon and clean air. It all looked perfect, but tonight it felt useless. Rich walls could not hold back fear. He took her to the bedroom and propped her up with pillows. Her eyes were closed, but he could see the fight in her face. He brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "I'm here," he said. "I'm not leaving." The head housekeeper, Mama Rose, stood by the door, wringing her fingers. "Should I call doctor again?" she asked. Andrew shook his head. "Not yet." His voice came out quiet but strong. "Boil water. Now, get a clean pot. We're trying something new." Mama Rose hurried to the kitchen. Andrew sat on the edge of the bed and opened the brown bundle again. He smelled the leaves. They were sharp and earthy, with a hint of mint. The small bottle of oil carried a deep, peppery scent. He did not know their names, but the smell tested something inside him, a memory of old stories, of grandmothers who made steam bowls when the Harmattan air got too dry. He looked at his mother. "Mama, do you trust me?" She opened her eyes. Pain sat on her face like a heavy cloth, but there was a tiny smile tucked in the corner of her lips. "I always have," she whispered. "From the day your father died, I have trusted you to hold us together." He swallowed. "Then we will try." In the kitchen, the flame clicked to life. Water boiled. Andrew dropped the leaves into the pot and watched them swirl and darken the water. Steam rose, carrying that deep green smell. He put one drop, only one, of the dark oil into another bowl of hot water and covered it with a clean towel. 5 teaspoons, twice a day, he repeated, steady like a promise. He carried the pot and the steam bowl back to the bedroom. The house was so quiet that he could hear the soft hum of the air conditioner. He set the bowl on a small table and placed the towel over his mother's head, letting the steam kiss her face. "Slow breaths," he said, "in through your nose, out through your mouth." At first she coughed harder and his heart jumped into his throat. He almost pulled the towel away. But then the cough slowed. 1 breath, 2 breaths, then 3. Her shoulders loosened just a little. Andrew looked at the herbs left in the pot, warm and golden brown under the light. Mama Rose stood in the doorway, holding a cup and a spoon. "Should I measure?" Andrew nodded. 5 teaspoons. He held the cup to his mother's lips. She took a small sip, grimaced at the bitter taste, and swallowed. Another cough. Another sip. He counted each teaspoon like a step across a thin bridge. When the 5th teaspoon was done, Andrew sat back. His chest felt tight, like he had been running. He checked the clock on the wall and wrote the time on a notepad by the bed. He drew 2 little boxes under it. Morning, night. He would not miss a dose, not a single one. For a while, nothing happened. The cough returned in short bursts, like a storm that refuses to leave. Andrew kept his hand on his mother's shoulder, feeling each shake, each pause. He whispered stories from his childhood to distract her. The day she made him a kite from old newspapers, the day she showed him how to forgive someone who had hurt him. He spoke until his own voice turned soft. The storm eased. Madame Teresa's eyes grew heavy. The cough did not stop, but it was not as wild. It stayed small, like a dog that had moved from biting to barking. "Mama," he said softly, "rest." She nodded, lids half closed. "You are a good son," she breathed. Andrew stood, muscles aching, and walked to the balcony that opened from her room. The night air was cool and carried the smell of wet earth. Down on the quiet street, the city lights blinked like tiny stars trapped in puddles. He pulled his phone from his pocket and stared at Johnson's bundle on the table. He could still see the man's steady hands. He could still hear his words. "You can find me in the uncompleted building." That line kept echoing. Andrew's mind tried to push it away. He had people to trust, doctors, chiefs, partners, not strangers, not men with torn coats and mud on their shoes. But when he closed his eyes, he saw another picture. His mother at the hospital steps, small and shaking, and Johnson's arms lifting her like she was a crown. No greed, no show, only care. A sudden, sharp cough burst from the bed, louder than before. Andrew spun around. Madame Teresa's face twisted, and she pressed a hand to her chest. The sound was deep, rough, and scary. She gasped and clawed for air. "Mama!" He rushed to her side, heart hammering. The steam bowl had cooled. The cup sat empty. He reached for the pot, hands shaking, to pour a little more into the spoon. The clock ticked. 2 days, 48 hours. The house lights seemed to flicker. For a split second, Andrew's eyes fell on the herbs, and then to his phone, and then to the door. He had to choose, stay and trust the leaves, or race out into the wet night to find Johnson right now. He grabbed his car keys. The bedroom door swung open, and a shadow stepped into the light. For a moment, Andrew couldn't breathe. The shadow in the doorway stretched across the floor, long and dark, as the hallway light flickered behind it. He stepped in front of his mother instinctively, heart thumping so hard he could hear it in his ears. "Who is there?" he demanded. A soft voice answered, "Sir, it's me." It was one of the younger guards, Emmanuel, holding a tray of warm water and a fresh towel. His eyes widened when he saw the panic in Andrew's face. I am sorry, sir. Madam Rose asked me to bring this," he stammered. Andrew exhaled slowly. Not danger, not Johnson, just a guard, but inside him something had already snapped awake. A decision, a fear, a spark he could not put out. He placed a hand on Emmanuel's shoulder. "Thank you. Leave it there." When the young guard left, Andrew locked the door behind him and stood very still. His mother's coughing had softened again, but each breath still trembled like thin glass. He knew what he had to do. He had to find Johnson. Not later, not in the morning. Now. Andrew picked up his car keys again, grabbed his jacket from the chair, and leaned close to his mother. "I'll be back," he whispered. "I promise." Madame Teresa's eyes opened just a little, her voice weak but clear. "My son, where are you going?" Andrew swallowed hard. "To find help." She reached for his hand. "You have always carried too much on your shoulders." "I'm not losing you," he said softly. "Not now." Her eyes glistened. "Then go." He squeezed her hand, turned off the bright ceiling light, and stepped out. Outside, the night wind slapped his face. The compound felt too quiet. Even the guards moved slower, as if the air was too heavy to breathe. "Ogre, should we follow you?" one guard asked. "No," Andrew said firmly. "Stay here. Watch over my mother." His black SUV roared to life. The gates opened. He shot out into the wet Lagos street with water splashing under the tires. The hospital wasn't far, but every traffic light felt like a mountain. He drove past people closing their shops, past Okadas weaving through cars, past a man selling suya under a flickering bulb. The world felt normal, and that made his heart ache. How could life feel normal when someone he loved was fighting for breath? He reached the hospital gate, turned left, and slowed as he approached the dark, uncompleted building Johnson had pointed to. It stood like a lonely skeleton. Concrete pillars, missing windows. The wind whistled through empty rooms. Rats scurried. A plastic bag rolled across the ground. Andrew stepped out. "Johnson," he called. No answer. He walked deeper inside. His footsteps echoed. He heard water dripping somewhere, slow and steady. "Johnson," he called again. Silence. But then, footsteps from the back. Andrew turned sharply. A figure was approaching, tall, dark, moving slowly. Andrew took a step back, heart slamming against his ribs. "Who's there?" The figure stepped into the moonlight, and Andrew froze. It was not Johnson. It was a group of 3 men. Homeless men who lived in the building, staring at him with tired but curious eyes. "Good evening," one said, voice rough. "Are you looking for someone?" Andrew nodded quickly. "Yes, a man named Johnson, tall, dark skin, overgrown beard, torn ash coat." They looked at each other, then shook their heads. "He no day here," another said. "We never see person like that today." Andrew's breath caught. "Are you sure?" The men nodded. "Very sure." Andrew felt like the earth shifted under him. Where could he be? Why was he gone at night? Did something happen to him? He was about to leave when one of the men added quietly, "But he dey come here sometimes. He sleep here sometimes. But today, he no come." Andrew exhaled, rubbing his forehead. The rain had started again, soft and cold. He walked back to his car, frustration building in his chest. Had he trusted the wrong man? Had the herbs been a mistake? But then he remembered his mother's breathing, calmer now, gentler than before. The herbs were working. Something inside him said, "Don't doubt, not now." He was about to enter the car when movement caught his eye. A tall figure was walking toward the building from the junction. Andrew's heart jumped. The coat, the beard, the tired walk. "Johnson," he whispered. The man lifted his head as the car headlights hit him. It was him. Andrew stepped forward, voice trembling. "Johnson." Johnson paused, confused. "Sir, you came?" Andrew reached him and grabbed his shoulders, overwhelmed. It worked. The herbs worked. My mother is breathing better. The cough, it's slowing. You saved her. Johnson blinked in shock. His eyes softened. Thank God, he whispered. Thank God. But as he spoke, his voice cracked. Andrew noticed his hands shaking. Are you okay? Andrew asked. Johnson nodded, but tears slipped down quietly. I don't see people come back, he said. Not after I help. They forget. Or they fear me. Or they hear stories about me. This confused Andrew. What stories? Johnson looked away, wiping his face with the back of his hand. Sir, I am not the man people think I am. I was not always like this. But he suddenly stopped speaking as headlights from a passing car swept across his face. In that flash of light, Andrew saw something he had not noticed before. A long scar running down Johnson's wrist. Deep, old, painful. Johnson quickly covered it with his coat. Let us go to your mother, he said softly. I want to see how she is doing. Andrew nodded. Come with me. Johnson hesitated, stepping back. Are you sure? Yes, Andrew said firmly. She needs you, and I think I do too. For a moment, Johnson stared at him as if no one had spoken to him with respect in years. Then he gave a slow nod. Okay, sir, he whispered. Lead the way. Andrew opened the back door of the SUV and helped him in. As the car pulled away from the uncompleted building, the rain grew heavier, beating the roof like a drum. Inside the car, Andrew looked at Johnson through the mirror. There was still something he didn't understand, something unspoken, a secret. As they approached the house, Andrew finally asked, Johnson, who are you, really? The man closed his eyes. I will tell you, he said quietly, but not until I see your mother first. Andrew's chest tightened. They reached the gate. The guards opened it quickly. Andrew turned to Johnson. Come, he said, she is inside. But the moment Johnson stepped out of the car, something strange happened. Madame Rose ran out of the house, eyes wide with fear. Sir, she cried, it's your mother. Andrew's heart dropped. What happened to her? He shouted. Madame Rose pointed toward the staircase. She stopped breathing for a few seconds. Andrew froze. His keys nearly fell from his hand. Johnson looked up sharply. Take me to her, he said with sudden urgency, and together they ran inside. Andrew had never run so fast in his life. His feet hit the marble stairs hard, echoing across the hallway. His heart was beating like someone was hitting a drum inside his chest. Behind him, Johnson climbed with surprising speed, holding onto the rail as if the world depended on it. Where is she now? Andrew shouted over his shoulder. In her room, sir, Madame Rose cried from behind them. We tried calling you. Her breathing just stopped. Those words felt like knives in Andrew's stomach. He pushed the bedroom door open so hard it hit the wall with a loud bang. Madame Teresa lay slumped against the pillows, her hand hanging loosely over the side of the bed. Her chest rose only a little, very slowly, too slowly. Mama, Andrew gasped, rushing to her side. She didn't open her eyes. She didn't respond. He touched her forehead. It was warm. He placed a hand above her nose. There was a breath, but it was faint, like a whisper fighting winter wind. No. No, 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 Andrew whispered, voice shaking. Stay with me. Please stay with me. Behind him, Johnson stepped forward calmly, like someone who had walked into a storm before and knew exactly where to stand. What time was her last dose? Johnson asked gently. Andrew blinked, trying to think. I gave her 5 teaspoons around 8. I wrote it down. The steam treatment too. Good, Johnson nodded. That means the herbs are working, but the healing has opened her chest too fast. Her body is adjusting. Andrew frowned. Adjusting? What do you mean? Johnson knelt beside the bed. Sometimes when a sickness has been there for long and the healing comes fast, the body becomes confused. Like a door opening too quickly. It tries to shut down instead of accepting the healing. Andrew's throat tightened. Can she? She will breathe again, Johnson said firmly, but we must help her through the transition. He looked at Madame Rose. Hot water, Towels. Now. Yes, she ran out. Andrew stared at Johnson. What do we do? Please, tell me what to do. Hold her hand, Johnson said softly. She needs to feel a familiar presence. It helps the body fight. Andrew took his mother's cold fingers and squeezed gently. Mama, it's me. I'm here, he whispered, trying hard not to cry. Johnson placed both hands on Madame Teresa's back and pressed gently. One up, one down, moving them in smooth, careful motions. He whispered something Andrew couldn't hear. Something old. Something deep. Andrew watched in silence, feeling like he was witnessing a secret from another world. After a few minutes, Madame Rose returned with steaming water and towels. Put one towel here, Johnson said, tapping the center of Teresa's chest, and another on her back. We must open the air pathway. Andrew did exactly what he said, but fear choked him. What if this didn't work? What if he had trusted the wrong person? Johnson dipped a small cloth into the steaming water and wrung it. Then he placed it on the sides of Teresa's neck, gently pressing. Come on, Mama, he whispered. Your time has not come. Your son still needs you. Andrew's eyes were wet. Please, please breathe. Then a shallow gasp, barely there. Then another, slightly deeper. Then a cough, weak but real. Mama. Andrew leaned close. Mama, can you hear me? Her eyelids fluttered. Weak tears slid down her cheek. Andrew collapsed beside her, shaking. Thank God. Thank God. Johnson closed his eyes with relief. She's stabilizing. Madame Rose covered her mouth as tears streamed. Oh, thank you, thank you. But then Johnson's voice grew serious. She is not safe yet. Her body is still fighting. We must continue for the next 12 hours. You must not miss a single dose. I won't, Andrew said quickly. Anything. Just don't let her go. Johnson hesitated, then nodded. I will stay the night here, he said quietly. Andrew blinked. Here, with us? Yes. If I leave and something changes, she may slip again. For a moment, Andrew just stared at him, a homeless man offering to stay awake all night to protect a billionaire's mother. No payment, no request, just kindness. Thank you, Andrew whispered. From my heart, thank you. But Johnson didn't answer. He simply sat beside the bed, watching every breath Madame Teresa took. Hours passed. The night grew deeper. The rain stopped. The house became quiet. Andrew sat on a chair across the room, staring at Johnson's face in the soft bedside light. Something about the man felt familiar. Not his face, but his spirit. Gentle, heavy, carrying pain that didn't show fully. Finally, Andrew spoke. You promised to tell me who you really are. Johnson stiffened. His eyes drifted to the wall, then back to Madame Teresa. I know, he whispered, and I will. You deserve to know. Andrew waited silently. Johnson took a deep breath. I wasn't always like this, he began. Not always homeless. Not always unwanted. Andrew leaned closer. I used to have a clinic, Johnson said. A small but respected herbal center. People came from far to see me. Governors, businessmen, mothers with children. I treated them with herbs my father taught me about. His voice cracked a little. My life was simple but good. He paused. Until the day my world was destroyed. Andrew's chest tightened. What happened? Johnson swallowed hard. A powerful politician's wife came to me. She had a sickness the hospitals could not cure. I worked day and night to help her, and she was getting better. Andrew listened, tense. But one night, Johnson continued, someone sneaked into my storage room. They poisoned the herbs I prepared for her next treatment. Andrew's eyebrows rose. Poisoned? Yes, Johnson whispered. The next morning, when I gave her the herbs, she died in less than an hour. Andrew felt cold. The politician blamed me immediately. I was arrested before sunset. My clinic was shut down. My life, everything I built, was taken. Andrew swallowed hard. Did you serve time? Johnson nodded slowly. 10 years. Andrew squeezed his hands. 10? But you were innocent. Johnson looked down at the floor. The man who set me up was eventually caught. But there was no justice, no apology, no compensation. By the time I came out, I had nothing left. No home, no family, no clinic, just this bag and these clothes. Silence filled the room, a heavy silence. Andrew felt something sting his chest, a mix of anger, sadness, and shock. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. Johnson smiled faintly, but it was a sad smile. "Life is life, but I still believe in helping people, even if I am nothing now." Andrew shook his head. "You are not nothing." Johnson looked away. "People see a homeless man and think he's useless. A failure." "Not me," Andrew said quietly. "Not after tonight." Johnson didn't answer. His eyes glistened. Time passed. The room grew quiet again. Madame Teresa was breathing slowly now. Her cough had almost vanished, like a storm leaving the sky. Andrew allowed his eyes to close for just a moment. Just one small moment. But suddenly, a loud gasp shot through the room. Andrew and Johnson jumped to their feet at the same time. They turned toward the bed, and Andrew's heart nearly stopped. Madame Teresa's body began to shake, stronger than before, stronger than anything they had seen that night. Her hands clenched, her back arched, her breathing broke into quick, sharp bursts. "Mama!" Andrew screamed, grabbing her shoulders. Johnson's face flashed with fear for the first time. "This is not normal," he said, voice trembling slightly. "Her body is entering the final stage of healing, or—" He didn't finish. Andrew's hands shook as he held her. "What do we do? Tell me." But Johnson didn't answer immediately. He leaned close to her chest, listening. His eyes widened. Then he looked up with a shock that punched the air out of the room. "Sir," he whispered. Andrew felt his blood freeze. "What is wrong?" Johnson stared at the monitor, then at Teresa's chest, then back at Andrew. "Her heartbeat is dropping fast." Andrew staggered back. "No, no, not now, not after everything." Johnson grabbed the towels, the herbs, the steam bowl, scrambling to act as Madame Rose ran in screaming. "Sir, her heartbeat!" But Johnson shouted over her, "We are losing her!" And everything in Andrew's world collapsed into one terrifying second. Madame Teresa's body shook harder, her breaths turning into sharp, broken gasps. The heart monitor beside her bed beeped unevenly, fast, slow, then dangerously slow again. Andrew felt the floor tilt under him as if the whole world was falling apart. "No, no, Mama. Stay with me," he whispered, gripping her hands tightly. Johnson moved fast, faster than Andrew had ever seen. He grabbed the bowl of steaming water, poured in a few drops of the dark herbal oil, and placed it close to her face. "Andrew, lift her slightly," Johnson ordered, voice fierce. Andrew obeyed instantly, lifting his mother's shoulders while Johnson pressed the warm towel to her chest in rapid motions. "She's entering the final healing shock," Johnson said breathlessly. "Her lungs are trying to restart. If we don't guide it, she may not come back." Madame Rose clung to the wall, crying loudly, "Please, help her. Don't let her die." "Rose, get me more hot water," Johnson shouted. "Now!" She ran out trembling. Andrew's heart pounded so loudly it drowned the sound of rain outside. Sweat dripped down his forehead. Every second felt like it was slipping away too fast. "Come on, Mama. Breathe. Breathe," he begged. Johnson placed both hands over her ribs and pressed gently but firmly, timing each motion with her shallow gasps. "She's fighting," he said. "Help me keep her steady." Andrew steadied her head as Johnson worked, but the monitor suddenly made one long, flat sound. "Beep!" Andrew froze. "No, no, no, no!" he screamed, shaking her shoulders. Johnson's eyes widened. "She's slipping. Don't let go, Andrew." He quickly grabbed a small pouch from his bag, opened it, and took out a tiny pinch of powdered herbs. "Open her mouth," Johnson said. Andrew's hands shook, but he gently parted her lips. Johnson placed the powder under her tongue and massaged her jaw. "Come on, Mama. Take it in," he whispered. "Your son still needs you. Your time is not up." The monitor kept its terrible flat line. Madame Rose returned with water, but dropped the bowl when she saw the screen. It shattered on the floor. "Jesus, she's gone," she cried. Andrew felt his whole soul break, but Johnson didn't stop. He took a deep breath, put both palms on Teresa's chest, and pressed down gently. One more time, he whispered. One more breath. Come back. He pressed again and again. Andrew closed his eyes, tears falling onto the sheets. Mama, he whispered, voice shaking, please don't leave me. Not like this. Please. Then, a twitch. Just a small one. Johnson's head snapped up. Wait. Another twitch. A soft gasp escaped her lips. Then, the monitor beeped once, then again. Then again, steadier this time. Andrew opened his eyes and stared in disbelief as his mother's chest rose slowly, then fell, then rose again, stronger. She's breathing, Johnson whispered, trembling. She's back. Andrew fell to his knees, sobbing with relief as Madame Teresa's eyes fluttered open. But before he could speak, she pointed weakly at Johnson and whispered something that stopped both men cold. No, you. Madame Teresa's words floated in the quiet room like a ghost from the past. No, you. Andrew froze. Johnson's hands dropped from her chest. Madame Rose gasped, covering her mouth. You know him? Andrew whispered, confused. Mama, how? Madame Teresa blinked weakly, tears forming in her tired eyes. Her voice was faint but clear enough to send chills down every spine. Yes, he is the man who saved a child long ago. Johnson's body stiffened. A memory slammed into him like lightning. A runaway truck, a crying child in the road, his own hand grabbing the boy just in time. But he never knew what happened after. He never asked. Life moved too fast, and then disaster struck his own world. Madame Teresa reached for his hand. It was my nephew. You pulled him away before that truck killed him. I never forgot your face. Johnson's eyes widened, his throat tightened. You were there? She nodded weakly. You carried him to me, told me to take him home, and you left before I could thank you. Andrew stared, stunned beyond words. Mama, why didn't you tell me? I never saw him again. Until now, she whispered. God brought him back, to save me. The room was silent, heavy, sacred. Andrew sank onto the chair beside the bed. You saved my mother once, he said softly, voice breaking, and now you saved her again. Johnson lowered his head, overwhelmed. I only did what I could. No, Andrew said, gripping his shoulder. You did more. Much more. The next morning was bright and warm, the first peaceful morning in weeks. The golden sunlight poured into the room as Madame Teresa sat up, stronger, smiling, alive. Doctors came and checked her, shocked at her recovery. This is impossible, one whispered. Her lungs were almost gone yesterday. But Andrew just smiled. It wasn't impossible, he said. It was mercy. Later that afternoon, Andrew walked Johnson outside to the balcony. Lagos stretched wide and beautiful before them. You're not going back to that uncompleted building, Andrew said firmly. Not ever. Johnson swallowed. Sir, I don't want to be a burden. You saved my mother, Andrew interrupted gently. The least I can do is save your life too. Johnson's eyes welled with tears. Andrew continued, I'll rebuild your herbal clinic, legally, beautifully, with government approval. You deserve that chance. Johnson covered his face with his hands, crying silently. And you won't be alone this time, Andrew added. I'll stand with you. Within months, Johnson's clinic became one of the most respected herbal centers in Lagos. People lined up every morning for treatment. Journalists wrote about him. The same society that once rejected him now celebrated him. And then came the miracle that made headlines. Johnson cured the governor's wife of a strange illness no hospital could solve. People called it a second chance. Andrew called it justice. Andrew met Cynthia at a charity event, warm, humble, and kind. Johnson met Monica, a nurse who believed in natural healing. Their love stories grew beautifully, steady as sunrise. And one day, both men made a decision. They would marry on the same day, in the same venue. Side by side, Madame Teresa cried so loudly the whole hall laughed. She walked both men down the aisle, one on her left, the other on her right, her heart full and overflowing. My sons, she said proudly, I raised one, and life gave me the other. 1 year later, 2 cries filled the hospital maternity ward. Andrew and Cynthia welcomed a baby girl, Juliana. Johnson and Monica welcomed a baby girl, Juliet. When Madame Teresa held the two babies in her arms, she whispered, "Two miracles. For the kindness that saved my life." Andrew looked at Johnson, their eyes shining with emotion. "You saved her," Andrew said, "and by saving her, you saved us all." Johnson smiled softly. "No," he said, "your mother's goodness saved me first. I only returned what life gave." And together, the two men, once strangers from different worlds, looked at the babies, knowing their lives would forever be intertwined. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.